And we have some breaking news. Headlines today has exclusively learned that it could be soon the end of the road for Tehelka, the magazine. Now, this is after the sexual assault scandal that rocked the country's premier investigative magazines. Sources are telling headlines today that Tarun Tejpal was on the verge of finalizing a deal with an industrialist. But now, with his reputation in tatters, both he and other advertisers are hesitant to invest in the magazine. Editor-at-large Rahul Kawal now joining us on the phone line with more details. Rahul, sources telling headlines today that this could be the end of the road for Tehelka after the sex scandal that in fact rocked the entire nation and the magazine.
Well, it seems that the Tarun Tejpal sexapage could be the death knell for Tehelka. Headlines today has learned that there was one major investor who promised Tarun Tejpal and Tehelka that he would pump in more than a dozen crores into the magazine for 2014. That deal was to be signed immediately after the Thinkfest got over in mid-November. However, after this young employee alleged that Tarun Tejpal had raped her while the Thinkfest was on, that investor has developed cold feet and now is reluctant to put the money on the table. So now Headlines today is learning that the magazine could shut down very soon. In fact, management from Tehelka has informed its employees that they will be unable to continue paying the salary bill, which is more than ₹1 crore a month, in case more money is not coming forward. In fact, ever since Shoma Chaudhary stepped down as the managing editor of Tehelka, there have been some senior editors, former editors of big newspapers, who've come forward and offered to steer the magazine through choppy waters. But what they need is finances, and that currently isn't seeming to come through. Frantic last-minute efforts, Anjana, are currently on to see if money can be arranged. But as of now, that seems very difficult, and senior Tehelka sources telling Headlines today that the end could be very near for the magazine.
Right. Rahul, you did in fact speak of these last-minute efforts. So if you can actually shed light on that, do we understand if there are other journalists, other editors that are in fact willing to come forward and sort of, take the reins of this magazine? Because, if filmmakers like Shekhar Kapoor also, who was a speaker at the Thinkfest, as we pointed out earlier, said that if, there are people, journalists who have had the courage to go out and get the stories, there is no problem in funding a magazine like this that continues to have the same idea.
You would remember, Sanjana, when Tehelka was being hounded by the NDA government after their sting operation on the corruption and defense deals, a lot of people, a lot of prominent lawyers, civil society activists, filmmakers, libertarians came forward and put in their money to fund Tehelka and to keep it going. But that was also because Tarun Tejpal himself was active. The magazine was stitched around his personality, and it was his own charisma that brought in the money. He now is languishing inside a Goa jail. And without him, the magazine is rudderless in the sense that the family members who are trying to keep it going need the hard finance. It was Tarun who every year arranged for the finances that kept the magazine going. And in his absence, they are now being unable to find the cash that is required to sustain the magazine. They are still trying. They're in touch with various people, but those people are not coming on the phone. They're giving no direct and immediate response. And the deal, which was supposed to sustain Tehelka through 2014, now seems to have come through, and it's looking as if the end could be very near for Tehelka.
Absolutely. Rahul Kawal, editor-at-large, thank you so much for bringing us that update. This is the Headlines Today exclusive. Brand Tehelka, in fact, taking a battering as the financial troubles mount for this magazine after its editor, Tarun Tejpal, is in fact languishing in prison after the sexual assault case was slapped against him.